guys, it's Peggy Kaczynski. I retired early from my 20-something career as a sportscaster covering the Bulls, the Bears, the Blackhawks, the Cubs, the White Sox, and really every other college and high school team in Chicago. So what do you do after that? Well, you start a podcast. That's what I did with my teenage son, Jason. And the result is The Sportscaster and Her Son. Yes, I'm the baby boomer, a mom. We don't get along. We don't have a lot in common, but we both share a love for sports. And we always have great sports conversation. Even better, our guests in the interviews. So come check us out. We're on Podbean and the Barroom Network, or really wherever you get your audio. The Sportscaster and Her Son podcast. See you there.
Hey everyone, this is Chuck Arfine, the South Burbs Hitmen. This show rocks, and you need to listen to it every single time the podcast drops.
What's up, Bulls fan? This is Kris Amundsen, Larro Golden, bringing you Bulls 101 again. How you doing, Larro, this weekend?
How we doing, guys? This should be a fun show. It's a little frustrating because of last game, but hope you're ready to get a little bit of knowledge today. So.
Yeah, it's been a while since it's just been us two. We've had a bunch of cool guests, and we've got a bunch more lined up. But we felt it was important for us to kind of have a week by ourselves to just break down some film and kind of get some deep dives into what we're seeing. And this week, I really thought we got a whole lot of the spectrum of the good and bad of the Bulls. We did get our first 3-game win streak, our first win with this new group against the Nets. And then we got a Pacers win and a Raptors win, both of whom were depleted a little bit. And then yesterday we had the Hawks game where Zach LaVine dropped 50 points for the first time in his career. And we also blew a fourth quarter lead. So it's just exciting. Can we just enjoy a 50-point game without having to lose to Trae Young and the Hawks? I mean, that was tough.
Yeah, man. It was tough because, honestly, I wasn't able to watch it live because I was coaching. But when I got home and I was able to watch the game, it was very, very frustrating just because we didn't make any adjustments that it seemed like we should have. The rotations from Billy were really wonky. Pick and roll defense was getting bludgeoned. It was just, it was just tough to watch, man. Obviously, it was fun watching Zach do his thing, and you wish we could have rewarded him with a win. But yeah, man, it was fun and tough, bittersweet, So
yeah, our schedule is a little bit lighter the next couple of weeks after a pretty brutal one right after the All-Star break. So the Bulls have plenty of chances to maintain or improve their position in the playoffs and the play-in game, but they gotta clean some stuff up. I think we saw a lot of promising signs, but it's a little tougher to take that really seriously when it's against a team like Toronto Raptors, who are missing like half their roster. They had 8 guys, in uniform, and that's it. And obviously the Pacers were missing Brogdon and Sabonis, and the Nets were missing James Harden and Kevin Durant. So the 3 wins kind of come with a little caveat, but we'll take them how we can get them.
Yeah.
I think we should have gotten the Hawks one. There was no reason. They had John Collins out, and Trae Young just got it going as the game progressed. And the first half, I think it was a tale of two halves. I know you went back and watched the whole thing in depth, but I think the first half of the game went much better as far as their rotations and what they were doing on the floor and the way they were getting shots. And obviously Zach was just on a tear, which helps a lot. But that second half, a lot of the problems the Bulls have encountered this year really reared their ugly head again.
Oh man. I want to be happy because Zach absolutely. I was watching the broadcast from the Atlanta broadcast. So, listening to Dominique Wilkins just absolutely was in awe of what Zach was doing. That was so fun to listen to.
Yeah.
But then the second half came and it kind of dampened it for me because, as a team, we have to be better. And that, when I say as a team, I'm including the coach, So, gosh, man, I'm trying to be excited, but that was a tough loss. Man. That was a tough loss.
Well, I know talking earlier today, that you were reviewing the film. Larro was texting me all these frustrations about the coaching, the rotations, the pick and roll defense, the whole thing. So you did a little humble brag earlier. You said Friday night you were coaching instead of watching the game. That's fine. That's cool. I know you got more important things to do here.
Hey man,
but you're doing the coaching,
kids, man. I love the kids. They need me, man. They need me, man.
That's what I was doing. The game is always on. I'm on the West Coast, so the games are always on from 5 to 7:30 p.m., which is my dinner time with my kids, and I have to help put them to bed and everything. So I couldn't watch the game live either. Yeah, but yeah, you've got the coaching mind, so I wanted to ask you first and kind of see what stood out to you from specifically the Hawks game. And then what I wanted to do tonight is talk about Lowry and Kobe in their new roles off the bench. What's different? What's the same? What they've done this year to improve, some areas of improvement they still need to attack a little bit more. Yeah. And then what we see kind of as their future is going, how they can mold and adapt to these new lineups. Obviously Billy Donovan said that Kobe and Lowry aren't going to be featured as much, right? They're not as part of the core. The core is now Vooch, Zach, and Pat, in my mind. And the other three, anyone else has to be molded around those three, right? Yeah. Yeah, Salim's in. Salim knows. What's up, Mark? Mark K from Australia is here with us. Matt Nagy, the Bears head coach, he's with us too. He says we need to get a point guard.
We need to run the ball as well, Matt. So
you need to run that ball. Let someone else call your plays, right? Isn't that? I'm not a Bears fan.
Yes,
but I've heard lots of complaints about that. All right, so what did you see from Billy this in the last few games here?
So the thing, obviously, the biggest thing is, we've kind of tailored the offense towards Vooch now, where we're getting a lot of post touches, and we're playing off of that, and which honestly I think is the best thing right now, because honestly we don't have a lot of guys outside of Zach that can create their own shot. So it's the best thing for me, because you could play the pick and roll with Vooch, and that could create so much for everybody else, as we saw in the Hawks game. And then obviously, you throw the ball onto Vooch. Now you got your cutters. You got a great cutter in Pat. Pat is one of the better cutters on the team. Even honestly, Lowry is been cutting pretty well. And I just feel like it's the right thing to do with this team. And I believe it in against Atlanta, we saw what could happen if teams take out Zach. And then, it's fine. For me, it looked as though they're like, okay, Vooch, go ahead, go one-on-one with Capella. We like Capella's athleticism to be able to make it tough. Now we're gonna see if other guys can make shots. Sato had a bunch of shots wide open, didn't make. Pat didn't play well. That's my son. That hurt seeing Pat not play well. But you know what? He's going to have those type of games. But everybody I just felt like didn't bring their game. Even Thad. I'm so used to Thad being so consistent. And I felt like he was just not himself yesterday. And, then we get to the second half. Second half was tough. Going out for 50, kind of, shadowed like everybody else, having a tougher game. And then the second half, it was tough because you got your team fighting. They get a 6-point lead in the fourth. And then it's, once Trey and I believe it was Capella that came back. I can't remember who the second guy was, but I saw Trey get up. And from that point on, you could tell what it was. It was, you know what? We're going to throw the ball to Trey. We're going to run pick and roll. They can't stop it. We're going to continue to run it. And I didn't see an adjustment from Billy. What we saw was Nate McMillan, okay, you know what? We're taking Zach out of this game. Zach's not going to beat us. We're going to double him. I don't care if it's 3/4 court. We're going to get up there and get the ball out of his hands, right? There was nothing from Billy. And I am a big fan of Billy. I was a big fan of him coming here. But that was, to me, that was egregious. I just feel like you cannot lose that game. You can't, well, in the fashion you lost it. If you make your adjustments and they're just a better team, they're just playing better, I can live with that. But the fact that you didn't make any adjustments, you didn't have a Daniel Tice out there that could have helped defensively, that could have covered Vooch's back on some of those roles. He could have grabbed more rebounds. He could have helped on offense. It was setting better screens and getting guys more free on cuts. It just, like you said, like Mark said, outcoached. He was outcoached in the second half. And then again, in his his post-game presser, I felt like he didn't take any fault for it. I felt like he kind of just, put it on the players, but I feel like he had to be better with managing what was going on. He just it was all, I know you're not a baseball guy, but for all the White Sox fans out there, it was like watching Matt Foster just sit in that inning and just get rocked. And Tony didn't he didn't go out and get him. He didn't bring in, Hendricks. He didn't bring in anybody else. He just allowed Matt Foster, who was having a tough game, to just continue to get beat up. And that's what it felt like. He just left the lineup out there that was just continuing to get smacked around, and he didn't make any. Pass it back to you because I could keep going. We got some stuff to get into, though. So, yeah.
A couple thoughts as you were talking about that. Number one, Darnell Mayberry, who we had on last week, made mention of this specifically, that when Billy left, it was definitely a mutual parting of ways, right? No one was really super bent out of shape about it. And he had a reputation for not always the greatest in-game management of X's and O's. Now we've seen some nice things from him this year, ATOs, we've seen some nice plays from him. Yeah. And we've seen a lot of funky lineups. He's willing to throw lineups out there to try different things. So it is kind of odd, I think, to see him be so rigid more recently with these lineups. He's shortening that rotation. He's really shortened it up in the last couple of weeks. And it's odd to see him not trying those things when it's not working. Whereas before, if it wasn't working, he'd throw Arch out there. He'd throw Denzel out there. He'd throw Felicio out there, Cornette. Like, he'd throw all these guys out there to just see what could, he'd just see what could stick.
Exactly.
But he didn't do that yesterday. He just, and you also made mention of Daniel Tice and even Troy Brown Jr. Yes. They didn't see a lot of time in the fourth quarter. And I thought Troy Brown earlier this week, last Sunday against the Nets, he did a really great job against Kyrie Irving, who's one of the most dynamic point guards in the league.
That's a great point.
I wish he had Troy Brown out there a little bit more to try and slow that pick and roll with Trae Young and Clint Capella. Because as you mentioned, Zach and Vooch can't be stopped on the pick and roll. Like, we know that's coming.
Yep.
And so teams are going to try and find a way to they took Zach out of the game. Zach mentioned it post game where he said, the guy that was guarding him full court. Yep. And then as soon as he crossed the half court line, Solomon Hill was coming up to double him. And he was basically trying to take him out of the game and make everyone else, make them pay for doubling or tripling Zach. And Billy has to make adjustments to say, okay, we're going to set up Vooch Now that, because a double team or a triple team means one or two guys are open, and you need to get the defense moving and rotating to create, because now you start with the advantage of having him double teamed. And Zach has been one of the best pick and roll ball handlers under pressure this season, second only like Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
You have to utilize him. Get Thad, get Nikola Vucevic in that short role that they've been doing. Take advantage of it. Make them pay, because you have the personnel to do so.
Yep.
And not only did he not do that, but he also didn't make adjustments on the defensive end to stop their pick and roll, which was super effective. Trae Young was 10 of 12 from mid-range tonight. He was getting whatever he wanted. And because Clint Capella was rolling, and he's such a lob threat that you have to respect him.
Yep.
And they were just running it all night. And I think you're 100% right.
And to go to that point, something that got a little under my skin, and I try not to let this happen, but see on Twitter, Zach had 50 with a loss, and Jason Tatum had 53 with a win, and I'm like,
not what it's about,
guys. Like, Zach doesn't have a Jaylen Brown. Hey, here you go. He doesn't have a Kemba Walker. He doesn't have these other players that are great role players where they can key in on Jason Tatum as well. Because if you key in on Jason Tatum, you guard him at half court and get the ball out of his hands. Oh, well, hey, here you go, Jaylen, go get 25. Oh, here you go, Kemba. Let's go get a dub. We don't have guys like this. This is a team that is built. We have two consistent players. We have Vooch and we have Zach. Everybody else, we got a rookie in Pat who showed promise, but he's gonna have up and down games. He's still learning. He's got to go through this season to really understand what NBA basketball is about. But like, it just got under my skin because people are not adding context. Oh, 53 points in a win. Zach got 50 in a loss. Where is the context? Where?
Yeah, that's the part that's tough. Is what made me mad about this game was not that necessarily that we lost and Zach got 50, but that people would use those two things together to attack Zach as someone who's not a max player or who's an empty stats, empty calories score, all that stuff. This one was not on Zach. Now, Zach makes mistakes, right?
Oh yeah.
He had moments tonight that he wasn't good, or he was not pressing on the gas, or not stepping up on defense the way he usually has this year. He's done a lot better this year. There's definitely things, but he's not the reason. I think it's a combination of no one else on the team was doing their job, and Billy wasn't making adjustments to put him in position to succeed. So yeah, as Salim said, there's always a lot of hot take reactions. This is fandom, and I'm sure as we're watching it, those thoughts are going through our minds, and so it's always nice to take a day off, get some sleep, review the tape, see what actually happened. And and see what the actual breakdowns were. And so I think you said you can go on all day, but did you have anything that you wanted to point out with rotations, or any clips that you had of something you wanted to point out here?
Well, the thing is the tape that we have for that, it's gonna encompass a lot of the pick and roll defense towards the fourth quarter. So
I know we're gonna get into that later tonight.
Exactly. So I feel like let's kind of wait on that. We can break that down and talk about that a little bit later. Let's do something else for right now. You know what I mean? Let's do that.
Let's talk about Lauri Markkanen, because he's been having a string of good games recently, and we wanted to kind of break down, now that it's been half the season and he's we're approaching the end of the season. We wanted to kind of break down a little bit of his shot profile this year, what he's been doing well on offense, what he's been doing on defense, good and bad. And I'm gonna play film school today. I'm gonna try and be a mini Coach Larro a little bit and talk about his rebounding, and then we'll also get into Kobe, kind of same things, his shot profile. I want to talk about his playmaking abilities, the good and the bad, and also his defensive capabilities and his rebounding. So I think we've got a lot to talk about before we even get to the pick and roll defense as a whole. But I think Lauri and Kobe are integral parts of why there's good and why there's bad on the defensive end. So maybe let's talk about Lauri's shot profile and what he's doing this year. I know you were diving deep into it. I know we talked about it earlier this week.
So So the thing about Lowry is the biggest frustration that I had with him was I felt he settled too much. It was either three, live by the three, die by the three. He wasn't attacking off the dribble. He wasn't taking people down to the block and finishing over the top. So basically, what I wanted to do was basically show some plays here where Lowry was using his size around the basket. Like for instance, this Nets game here, just seeing him on the right block and powering through guys and going over the top. Yeah. These are things that we have talked about. Me and you, we believe he can do this. He just needs to show it. He has to touch around the basket. And like, I'm not the biggest stat guy, and I'm trying to get better at that. But just, shout out to Cleaning the Glass. Like, there's certain numbers that pop out to you, with Lowry, like in terms of like the amount of shots he's taken as a whole and the amount that he's taken like 4 feet and in. It's a little frustrating to me reading those numbers because you see that he's doing like he's taken 101 shots from there and he's made 70% of those shots. And it just makes me wonder, like, why isn't this guy, for somebody that likes to shoot threes, anybody that's played basketball, you understand, okay, if your shot's not falling, you're getting to the basket, you're trying to get easier shots, you're trying to get to the front of the rim, you're trying to get to the free throw line to get some shots, to get that feel and get that mojo going. And the numbers just, it's frustrating. A little bit more assertive down in the post. He's willing to get down there, and I believe he's mentioned in his presser that they told him to be more physical. Which, did you want to talk about that?
I mean, number one, it's about time. It's about time. We've been saying that for 4 years, man, because there's no reason. As you said, he's shooting 70% at the rim. It's a great number. Yeah. You saw the clips we just showed. He can do that. He gets. We talk about this all the time. Opposing coaches put smaller guys on him all the time because he does not take advantage on a consistent basis of those matchups. So he's supposed to be a matchup nightmare. That was part of the promise. So when you see clips like this, you're like, yes, this is what you want. This is what I've been waiting for. But you can count on one hand how many times he's done that this year.
Exactly.
Like these are the clips of what he's done, and it's amazing that he doesn't do it more often. I don't know. It bugs me a little bit. Also, his efficiency overall, as we talk about Cleaning the Glass, his efficiency overall and his the frequency. I think he's had a much better year as far as his offensive profile is concerned. Yes. His points per shot attempt, for example, were right at 111 per 100 for 3 years, which was about 33rd, 35th percentile in the league for his position. This year, it's up to 124.9, which is 71st percentile for his position. Much better. So what is happening there? I think he's being put in better spots. As you mentioned, he's a great cutter. Yeah. And he's been put in more motion. He's been put in motion much more than just a catch and shoot guy. He's also increased the amount of the percentage of his shots from corner three versus other threes. Usually it was about 6 or 7% of his threes were from the corner. Now it's up to 12%, and he's hitting it at a really high clip there. So his efficiency is up. Yep. Which is great because we've been saying, hey, the promise of him being a great shooter, we've been waiting on it. And I think he's been better this year. He's at 39% for the year, which is much better than his average of 35, 36. Yes. But it's because he's taking better shots in the corner, and also his efficiency in general. He's on the move more. He's coming off the screens. He's cutting. He's getting in motion more often. So he's being able to take better advantage. And Billy's done a great job of putting him in those spots, I think, overall.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And in a way, you can kind of get why Billy chose to put him at the three. You get more size, more of a size advantage, and you can use him in the post a little bit more. They've been running that little cross screen play for him where he comes across and he's got a nice little spot there on whichever blocks he's coming to. And for me, I shouldn't say I'm 100% behind it, because I'm not. But I like the idea. But then it would be a lot better if he played defense. If he played better defense, like, it would be kind of fun in a way. But it's just, you got a guy that, one, is still not taking advantage of that size mismatch as much as you would like, and it just doesn't outweigh out there, and he's giving you efficient 20, 25 points a game, and he's not giving up that much. Then, I mean, you can deal with that, but it just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up.
Yeah, and to his credit, it's completely unfair for him to be expected to play small forward.
Yeah, no doubt.
There's no way he should be able to defend small forwards in this league. He struggles to defend power forwards, but that's something we can't expect from him, right? Power forwards, centers, that's his bread and butter on defense. He should be able to compete at that level based on his size and athleticism.
Right.
Putting him at small forward, as you said, unless you're getting a sizable advantage on the offensive end, which he has been doing a little bit better at recently, but not to the extent that you would need to justify putting him at small forward on defense.
Yeah.
Especially when you got someone like Troy Brown, or even Al-Farouq Aminu, or Garrett Temple when he's healthy.
Yeah.
Those perimeter defenders who we really, really need. And it's been, as I've been harping on this all year, but I think perimeter defense is our number one need in the offseason.
Man.
Number one, more than a point guard. And maybe you can get a 2-for-1 special on that in the offseason. But perimeter defense is number one. And we'll talk about why later tonight as well. But and now the Barroom Network is clowning Lowry in our mentions here, saying, what position is he supposed to guard then? No, he has been, I think he's had moments this year where he's done better on defense. Now, overall, his defense is, I think the last time I checked EPM, which is on dunksandthrees.com, his estimated plus minus on that end is like 20th percentile league, which is not great. Like, just not. It's like what people were killing Zach for a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the worst one on the team by far, but it has been a point of weakness. But there's ways that you can work around that.
Yeah,
I don't think they've put him in a position to succeed defensively this year by putting him at small forward at all.
Right. Yeah. No. It's tough. It's tough to watch it, because you see what Billy's trying to do as well. Teams are going to throw smaller guys on them. So you know what? Let's move them to small forward. That way we can still run what we want to run with that Lowry out there. Maybe we get a size advantage with it, and maybe he has a strong game, and but it's just too much of a gamble, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just too much. So
yeah, agreed. So I went down and got some clips on his rebounding, because rebounding has been a source of contention among a lot of Bulls fans. So just before we get into the clips, I did get some clips of him, but his rebounding percentage for his position, for example, he is 8th percentile as a defensive rebounder for his position. I'm sorry, that's offensive, and defensive. He's at 42nd percentile, which is better for his position, but still a little below average. But I think the thing that bothers me about Lowry is the lack of fundamentals in boxing out.
Yeah.
So I want to play a clip first off of just some clips this last week of him rebounding, of him getting rebounds, and because there were a couple of times this week where he went up strong and got the rebound, and it looks nice. So if you got the clip, if you could run Lowry's rebounding this week, I pulled a couple clips from these 3 games.
Yeah, he has. I mean, like you said, you see some rebounds. I believe it was against the Nets, I believe, where he goes up and he grabs with 2 hands. His head is like above the rim. And you're like, dude, why are you not doing this more often? Why? Like, if I was 6'1", and I loved rebounding. Like, I loved going up and grabbing, like, because obviously basketball, if you control the boards, most likely you're going to control the game. If you know what I mean, if you keep a team to one shot most of the time, it's gonna, you're gonna control the game. So that's why it's such a big deal.
All right, so here's some clips. If you watch Lowry in the corner here, he goes up and gets a rebound. It was kind of a long rebound there. And then Zach gets hit in the face on that one. But there's a couple here. So there's this next one, defensive rebound. But he almost loses it. You see, what's his name? TJ McConnell almost gets it from him right here. And here's why. When the rebound goes up, what he's looking at is the ball.
Yep.
He's not looking at his man. He's not looking to box out anybody. And so these things that should be uncontested, right? Because no way TJ McConnell, who's at the nail at the time the rebound hits the rim, there's no way he should be able to get that rebound. He's like 6'0". But you see this pretty consistently with Lowry. So a lot of these clips, if we run through them, we just run through the clips here. But basically, the reason that Lowry gets rebounds is because he's happens to be in the right position, or it bounces his way, and he's looking for the ball. You can tell, like when the ball goes up, he's got eyes right on the ball, and he starts diving towards it.
Yep.
But what he's not doing as a big, and what's really important as a defensive rebounder, is to immediately find the man and box out. Because boxing out is the reason that you're going to get defensive rebounds for your team, not just for yourself, but for your team. Robin Lopez was textbook at this, at rebounding. His rebounding, it's himself. He wasn't always getting the rebounds, but whenever a shot went up, he would look around and find the closest man to him and box him out to prevent any offensive rebounds. And so our rebound rate, when Robin Lopez was on the team, was really, really good. And the opponent's offensive rebound rate was really low because of that. So I've got a clip of 3 or 4 times this week where Lowry's poor defensive box outs led to offensive rebounds. And so this is the problem: is you guys are watching these clips, check out what Lowry's doing on the defensive end. So this first shot goes up, and Jeremy Lamb, who's like 6'6", comes right over, and you saw Lowry's you saw his body language after that. Here's another one. Lowry gets knocked out by Kris Boucher because when the shot goes up, Kris Boucher's behind him, but he's not looking to box out Kris Boucher. Kris Boucher just goes right around him, gets the rebound. Here's another one. Lowry not looking. He's just looking straight at the ball, not looking at Gallinari. Gallinari just stays out, and he gets an advantageous rebound. It just goes right to him. But if Lowry had been boxing out or looking at him, Lowry would have been in position. There's another one versus the Hawks. So this is just this week that there's 3 or 4 different times. Here's another one versus, I think it's Gallinari as well.
Mm-hmm.
And just not in position. So I think that's something that he struggles with, and it's not the physicality, because you see that he goes for the rebounds. That's something that he's looking for. It's because of the lack of fundamentals. And that's what's really worrisome to me, is this is year 4.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have, this is fundamental. Not only big men, but every person on the team should be learning how to do textbook box outs at this point, and he's not doing it.
I catch myself sometimes, because even at on a smaller scale, if sometimes I'll go to another team's practice just to check it out and see if I can pick up some things to add to mine. And even at that age, there are some teams that don't work on boxing out. They don't work on the fundamentals of the game. They just go straight to analytics. Let's work on threes. Let's work on getting to the basket, finish over the top. Let's work on mid-range, things like that. So I want to believe, because as a player, Lowry should know that I'm 7 foot. I got to go get boards. You know what I mean? As a player, he has to understand that. But then again, you have to wonder, because I remember when AK and Mark Eversley came in, wasn't one of the things that came out was they only had one player development guy, right? Or something like that. So it makes you wonder, like, are they teaching guys this? Are they are they were they, I should say, were they teaching guys and getting them to on a path to be a better player, or was it literally just working on strengths, not anything of their weaknesses? Or, you know what I mean? So that's what I wonder.
Well, that's been one of the most worrisome comments that I've heard this year from Bulls management is that Lowry is meeting their expectations.
Mm-hmm.
That worries me because Lowry is way more capable than he's shown so far. I think he's way more talented. You see the talent. We all see it. We want to see it. We've wanted to see it. We're seeing the shooting come around. The shooting is better this year across the board, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as you mentioned, the offensive aggressiveness, the shot profile hasn't changed so much. I mean, he's made little changes here and there, but ultimately getting guys at the rim where he's shooting a very high percentage needs to happen much more often, especially when we have situations like the Hawks where we need a bucket and Lowry's out there playing small forward and they got, who knows, 6'4", whoever on him. There's no reason why that can't be a very efficient shot for the Bulls to take on every possession. So what worried me about the comment of their meeting expectations, and maybe that's just, coach speak or management speak to the media, because they don't want to toss anyone under the bus. But as you mentioned, those things, those fundamentals should have been developed or should be being developed now that they've got a proper coaching development or player development staff. So I think that there's got to be more focus on that the rest of the year. I understand that they've got very little time for practices, and maybe it's something that either in the summer over, with the Bulls, or if he's on another team, that's something I think he really needs to focus on, because Lowry can be, even with defensive miscues, even with those things, he can be a solid rebounder. Yeah. And he can be, a more dynamic scorer. I think there's no reason that he can't. Definitely. And one of the things that we've harped on this year is the lack of shot creation from him. Yeah. If you can put guys in the post and punish them, that's going to be able to, I mean, you're going to be able to get your confidence up. You're going to be able to create more shots for yourself. And I think the passing out of those situations where it doesn't make sense, those are going to improve as well, just by a natural result of him taking advantage of those matchups. He's going to find and be able to see the other opportunities that are opening up on offense. We haven't seen it as consistently as we'd like to. I know we've harped on it. I hate harping on it because, and this is one of the things that's bothered me since we started the show, but much, much further than that, which is criticism is not hate and praise is not fandom. Yeah. And so when I'm criticizing Larro, it's because I think he's better. I think he's shown a lot, and I want him to succeed. And I think that there's ways that he can succeed. And the reason it's criticism is because if I can see them as a random fan, then there's no reason that coaching staffs, that are hired and paid by the Bulls and his own personal trainers should be able to see that as well, should be able to help that improve. And maybe he can improve those things. Yeah. Maybe that's the case, but I just don't think we've seen a consistent effort on those things at this point. I think there's improvement, but it's been too slow.
I think to go along with that, my last point on this is, I think when you come from Finland and then you come and you go to college and you don't work on those things because you're just so much better than everybody, you can just go up and grab a board. You can you're so used to being able to shoot your three whenever you want it. You can fall into a lull in your working on your craft and getting better as a player because it's worked for you. What you've been doing has worked. So why should I change it? And there's only so many guys like that come into the league that are like, man, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough yet. I need to work on this. I need to work on that. And there are guys that will come in the league and be like, you know what? I got here doing what I do. Why am I going to change it? Until somebody shows me why I should change my game, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I think sometimes guys got to be punched in the mouth with some realistic things. And I think benching Lowry he may not say it publicly, but in his heart, he's like, how am I on the bench? And the first thing you do is you look at yourself. Hopefully, some guys are just say, oh, whatever, they don't know what they're missing,
Yep.
But hopefully he looks at himself, he's watching film, and he can see like, oh man, like this is what they've been telling me. And hopefully things start to change. And I even like a lot of the times when they would run pick and roll, him and Zach, it was a lot of pick and pop, a lot of go screens. And that's cool if you're hitting your shots, but I like him rolling. We see that once he gets ahead of steam, he can go up and finish over the top on guys. Those are types of plays that, one, gives Zach confidence in getting you the ball because you're doing things like that, but also he gets confidence like, oh man, you get dunks like that, you get energized, you start playing better on the other end because you're energized from the offensive end. Some guys get fueled from the offensive end. So it's tough. It's one of those things where you wish you could be in the person's head to hopefully see what they're thinking. But Lowry, like you said, like a lot of people think, like if you say, oh, Lowry is, needs to work on this, it's, oh my God, you're against, and it's like, no, man, we just see a 7-footer that we see from time to time that can put the ball on the deck and go finish over the top on guys. And he needs to do things like that to make the game easier for himself. Get to the free throw line. He's too good of a free throw shooter to average, what is he, only 2 free throws a game or something like that?
Yeah, it's insane.
It needs to be better. So
yeah, I'm with you. And you mentioned the talent trap, right? That people get by on their talent, and it carries them all the way through college and into the NBA. And also they get in the NBA and there's fundamentals that they never learned because they never had to, because they were so athletic or so gifted shooting wise that they didn't really have to. They could just put up points.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And you do see, kind of the wheat and the chaff get separated once you hit the NBA, that those fundamentals, those skills can really make the difference for the guys that are already so talented. Those things can really elevate their game and vault them into the elite status of the NBA. You see guys like, whereas you see guys like Arch, right? Arch is a perfect example. That dude works hard.
Yeah.
He does not have the most talent on the team, but he works really hard and his fundamentals are so sound. And I know everyone's annoyed by this, but coaches trust him because coaches know exactly what he's going to get, what they're going to get from him. They know that he's going to take a charge. He's going to box out. He's going to set up the offense. He's not going to make mistakes. That's why they like Satoransky too, because Satoransky or Garrett Temple, the vets who have been in the league and stayed in the league, they've found that staying power because they have honed their craft and gotten better at those fundamentals. And so, that's the challenge for these young guys is they have to use their talent that that got them there, like Lowry, like Kobe, but they've also got to get a base under them on all those different skills. And I think that's one of the reasons we've seen Zach really take a leap this year, is because the fundamental skills that he has gained and continue to gain have really created a base for him, to jump off of. Yeah. So speaking of, Celine, I know we're speaking right to Mark K's heart with the Arch talk, but speaking of Kobe, I want to talk about Kobe a little bit too, because he's had an up and down year. I know we've talked about him, and I know everyone said ad nauseum that he's not a point guard and he's not the answer at point guard, but he still can be a valuable piece, and he has a lot of talent that he's brought into the league. And I think it's time that we talk about the talents that he does bring on the offensive end and some areas of improvement. Same thing with the defensive end. And also I think his rebounding is quite underrated as well. So I wanted to get into his shot profile. The thing that I think that Bulls fans in general think that he does the best and where he really excels is his catch and shoot threes. So I put together clips this week of his catch and shoot threes, his makes and his misses. But you see, Kobe's really good off the ball here. He gets a lot of space to shoot this three. He's got good form, and he's shooting it at a pretty high clip this year. So this is when I think he's really effective in the offense. Now here you've got Lowry and Sato and Zach and Vooch all on the floor together. Or I think it's Pat. So they're commanding a lot of attention. They've got a lot of offensive attention, and he can get those shots open. Here's Zach pick and roll with Tice. Gets a wide open Kobe on the wing. He loves that right wing, that catch and shoot right wing. He loves that shot. It's one of his better shots. He's actually really good at corner threes. I wish he would take more corner threes because he's shot it at a very high clip. I think he's shooting 43% in the corner this year, which is a significant improvement over last year. But these catch and shoot threes are really his bread and butter as an offensive player. There's really three things that he does. He does catch and shoot threes. He's developed his mid-range game this year that we'll talk about in a few minutes. And then he likes to try and take it to the rim. And he's had varying success with those three things. But that's basically the bread and butter of Kobe. That catch and shoot three is something that's been very effective. As we know, this year he and Zach were the first teammates ever in NBA history to put up 8 threes in a game, to make 8 threes in a game as a pair. And you've seen Kobe, he can put up 30, he can get hot real quick. And I think when he starts hitting those catch and shoot threes, that opens up the rest of his game, because that gets guys trying to close out on him hard. Exactly. That opens up plays for him. That opens up his mid-range game. That opens up a whole lot of different things. So I want to see, do you have anything to say on that? Have you watched with Kobe's catch and shoot? Do you think that's an effective way for him to kind of get going offensively?
I do, because as we know, he's not a primary creator. He's not really a secondary. But the thing is I believe, like you said, his catch and shoot kind of opens up plays for him, because if he's making his catch and shoot, that means guys are closing out to him, which makes it easier for him to blow by, which pushes somebody to come help. And that opens up an easier play for him to see, an easier extra pass for him. Because we as if you're a Bulls fan, and obviously you are if you're watching here, but if you've been watching games, you understand that's when he's his best, when he's on the move in terms of playmaking. When he's on the move, that's when he's making his better plays. It's when he's on the move, he's coming off a catch and shoot, a closeout, and seeing a cutter or seeing somebody come from somewhere, and sometimes you'll see a rat pass. But I do agree with you. I think the catch and shoot sets up a lot of good things for him.
Yeah, and I think for Kobe right now, keeping it simple is going to be the best thing for him. So he doesn't have to get all fancy, but having that catch and shoot be kind of the bread and butter of his offense, that opens up the opportunities, as you said, to see someone cutting. He can make the simple plays. He's improved a lot this year as a ball handler in that regard, that he's been making a lot of the kind of the simple reads. And so if you can keep it simple for him, and I think they have slowly shifted that this year. They've had him a lot less on the ball as a ball handler this year, and they've moved him more off ball as we've gotten into the season, with Satoransky more on ball, with Denzel on the ball, with Zach on the ball, and now with Vooch, in the post. So I think the more you can keep it simple for Kobe, the more you're going to open up the rest of his offensive game. So the next thing I want to talk about with offensive game is his mid-range game, which is actually really, really improved this year. It's one of the areas, I think it's his biggest improvement as far as his shot profile and his shooting percentages. So this year, his shooting percentages are up to 46% in the long mid-range and 43% in all the mid-range. That's up 10% in the long mid and up 7% overall from last year. So you see he has a couple little floaters, that little kind of side step, but he loves to get right above the nail or right at the nail sometimes and kind of pull up for that little jump shot, little foul line shot. And he's been very, very efficient at it. You'll see it here. He uses a tie screen, gets right in that spot, right above the nail, hits that little jumper. He's been very, very efficient at that. And I think a lot of it can come off of those catch and shoot threes, those opportunities where he's off ball, he gets a pass. They've run a couple actions to make the defense scramble, and now he's open for the three. And either he can take that catch and shoot three, or if they try and run him off the line, he's good enough. I know he's kind of got a loose handle, but he's good enough with a little, like a little high screen and roll right there with Lowry. He gets right to that spot, and it's pretty tough. And you see a lot of guards doing that this year in general, where when they're running drop, you run a high screen and roll, and the guard can get right into that little mid-range, right at the nail, and pull up and make that shot. If you can make that shot efficiently, you can make a lot of defensive pay. We saw that with Trae Young. Trae Young gets that little mid-range shot. He gets all that space in the world because we're playing the drop coverage, and we've got, they've got Clint Capella as a roller who commands a lot of attention as a lob threat. And so Trae Young gets right into that mid-range, and Kobe has improved in that area as well. And so I think that's a good sign from Kobe offensively. Now, you don't always want to shoot that shot, but if you're run off the line and you've got that shot available and you can hit that, I mean, Chris Paul's made a career out of that, elbow jumper.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's a great spot for him.
Yeah. And as you can see, a lot of what Kobe likes to do, if a team is running drop, he likes to snake that pick and roll, which basically, and he's actually so if you're coming off the screen and you're going right off the screen, he likes to snake it. So what that means is if he's coming off right, he's moving back towards left and creating like a more of like a, I don't know, like a snake. But so
could you describe that for me? I need the visual. They only had a picture of a snake for us.
He kind of slithers around the screen, you know what I mean? So, and he gets to that nail, like you said, he'll come off, he'll get right in front of that nail or a little bit left of it, and he pulls up. And that's something you can see. He's just comfortable in it. And like you said, he's improved on it. And I think a lot of that is because he's actually taken them, and because of Boylan. And threes and layups, and it kind of, I think in college that was a part of his game. That was a part of his game, mid-range, and obviously analytics say that you kind of want to shoot more threes and things like that, but you don't want to take everything out of somebody's game. You don't want to make them a robot. You want them to go out and play and do what makes them makes them go. So yeah.
Well, and it's interesting to see because he has such a speed from a north-south standpoint, right? He's just amazingly speedy. And so when he gets run off the three-point line, he can make that drive to the rim pretty quick. So it's nice to see him improving that kind of lateral movement where he's snaking around picks. He's snaking, on those plays where he can get to that. And as you saw, he gets to the nail, and sometimes he does a little kind of mini step back there to just create a little bit of extra space. So he's getting craftier. It's great to see. And as you said, you don't want to put him in a box. Yeah. And so I know maybe that sounds like I just contradicted myself when I said keep it simple earlier. But I think you want to start with simple things where you can really improve and get good at. But I think on a long-term basis, Kobe is too talented offensively for him to be so limited in those things. So I think – but he needs the consistency. He needs the reps right now, and he's getting them. And I think they're moving him closer and closer this year to more of his strength as an off the ball shooter and ball handler. And I think that's a better role for him. I think that's going to be something that he can be successful in, especially off the bench. Yeah. At his salary, I think he's a great bench piece for that. If you put the right pieces around him, where he doesn't have to take on a whole lot of ball handling. Yeah. So the last area I wanted to focus on, just some clips this week, were his drives. So Kobe has had some major struggles, not getting to the rim, but finishing at the rim. So finishing at the rim, the percentage of his shot attempts at the rim last year were 31% of his offense. This year down to 28%. But his accuracy, he shot 49% at the rim last year, 51% this year. So 51% for a point guard is 27th percentile, so far below average. And he, I believe, is one of the top 10 most blocked players at the rim over the last 2 years, which is not a great stat to be a part of. But you just see, I think part of it is will come a time where he has to get a little craftier. And as I mentioned, he gets a lot of speed, but he does have shorter arms. His wingspan is less than his height. I can't recall exactly what it is, but he does have a little bit shorter arms, so that makes it more difficult. And he's not very crafty. He's more just speedy to get to the rim, but he doesn't have the kind of finesse. Like you'd see someone, I mean, this is obviously an extreme example, but Kyrie Irving, for example, just has the handles, and Kobe's handle is also very loose in comparison. That makes it more difficult for him to create those small advantages that allow him to finish at the rim. But the handles and just the lack of craftiness at this point in his game just have made it really difficult for him to shoot efficiently at that spot.
Right.
So what I think I'd like to see from him there, because he's getting blocked so often, is to have less tunnel vision, to look, because he can create the advantage for the offense when he gets right to the rim. You see how fast he gets there.
Yeah.
So he's going to draw people in because they want to block him. They know he's going to get blocked too, right? So you're drawing people in, and that's where I think he can improve his playmaking and hit it out to the corner, back out to the top of the key, or find someone cutting to the rim that is a better finisher than him.
Right. And obviously with Kobe, he's not, I said this before, he's not a primary guy. And a primary guy, they can kind of anticipate plays. They can kind of understand what a defense is going to do to them and know how to manipulate, what their offense's philosophy is. You know what I mean? They can go at it a different way because you have a guy that can read a defense and make the right passes at all times. With Kobe, he's going to have to be a guy that's going to be able to. He has to be able to make the game easier on himself by looking to attack, and then, like you said, finding guys from that. So applying pressure to the rim and making plays from there. That's what he's going to have to do. And one thing with Kobe is when he drives, he likes to do those, wrong foot layups just to catch guys off guard. But the thing is, he doesn't have the wingspan. So if guys are caught off guard, they're still going to be able to get to it because his arms are so short. What he has to get better at is initiating contact. He has to get into guys' bodies to take away that wingspan from guys and then go to the basket. He doesn't really attack guys' bodies the way he should be. He kind of plays like he does have a long wingspan when he doesn't. So it's tough watching him. But again, he has to get better at finding guys on those drives and not just throwing up bad layups or things like that. So
yeah, and you mentioned something interesting that he has to be craftier at the rim, right?
Yeah,
because even if he gets an advantage because of the speed, a lot of guys have the wingspan to be able to close that gap and recover in time. Another way he can do that, I'm sure he knows a lot more about it than I do, but using the rim as a deterrent to rim protectors, right? And so if you can, you'll see Kyrie. I mean, Kyrie does this all the time, but use the rim. If you get to the other side of the rim, that becomes, they can't shot block over that because there's baskets in the way.
Right.
You can do that more often and get a little craftier. I think he can. I don't see any reason why he can't. But the length, his length is definitely going to be a deterrent on that end. It's going to be a hindrance to him. But he can improve the playmaking. He can improve the way he maintains his advantage as he's driving to the rim, rather than just using his speed as the only way to gain the advantage. So, no, I think you make great points here. So that's what I've got for his shot profile. That's basically, those are the three things that he does right now. And so he is keeping it simple, which I appreciate. He does some step back sometimes, and he does some weird, baseline jumpers, but for the most part, it's that kind of right at the nail, that mid range. He does the catch and shoot threes, mostly on the wing, and then he likes to drive to the basket as fast as he can, and with varied results, unfortunately, right now.
Yeah, man. And I feel like we've hit the point of the show where I can kind of just let out my frustration.
Oh no.
Is
this the splash zone? Do I need an umbrella?
I think our boy Salim is in here, so he'll understand. But there are some things that I believe Billy could have helped with, and that is the lineup and rotation towards the end of the game. So if you could run the first clip, Aldo, that would be great, and just kind of hold a still for me, right here. If you could, you don't even have to play it, right? So one of the things that Atlanta did, right, is they ran a lot of pick and roll. And that is due to the fact of they honestly knew they could get in there, and Trey loves his floater. He's got one of the best floaters in the game. And he also has a really good knack of causing fouls coming around the screen, because he kind of does that Chris Paul where he stops in his tracks and you run into him, he gets a shot up.
I hate that stuff, man.
I know, man.
I know it's the Harry Potter meme right? Where it says terrible but great. Like that's when I watch Trae Young, that's how I feel about it. Terrible, but he's really freaking good at it.
And to go back on the thing about Kobe, like he gets north and south pretty fast. So it's like, dude, Kobe, add that to your game. You know, if you're getting downhill, guys are trailing, boom, stop, boom. If that's what the game is allowing you to do, you know what I mean?
Don't encourage that. That's not basketball, though. Come on now.
I'm just saying, man. Sometimes you got to manipulate the game. I don't know. Guys are getting away with Trae's getting away with it. Chris Paul's been getting away with it for years.
I know.
You know, so but
they're gonna change that rule this year. They're gonna do it.
I hope so. So what Atlanta did is they got Kevin Huerter in the right corner, the 3-point line in the corner, and I believe they have Bogey in the left corner, and Pat Williams, I believe, is there covering there. And then the pick and roll, they have Kobe on ball guarding Trae. No, right? So and then you got Lowry guarding Danilo, and then you got Vooch guarding Capella, right? So basically, it's 3-on-3 basketball. So what's happening is, if I'm coaching, and I've seen this all game, they've been able to get whatever they wanted out of this. This is where my frustration comes in. You got TBJ on the bench. You know, you got, I would even try. There's so many other players you could try. Like you have to understand. You've seen Kobe for almost, more than half a season. You understand that he's done better at navigating screens, but he's not someone you want in crunch time guarding at the point of attack. Okay, we saw against the Nets, we saw TBJ do a pretty good job against Kyrie. And if you can do a pretty good job against Kyrie, I like your chances against Trae, right? Now, what's going to happen is Trae's going to come off the screen here, and you could roll it a little bit here. He's going to come off the screen. He kind of just sets him up. And this is something that Kobe has to add to his game too. He sets up the screen. So comes off, Danilo sets the screen here. And one of the things that we have to get better at is hold on, you can keep rolling it. Right? Lowry. So if you take a look at Lowry, this is a team basketball game, right? You have to step in front of that roller. If he kicks out to Danilo, you got it. You just recover and you get out there. You cannot allow easy baskets like this. A lot of people are going to get mad at Vooch, but this is a team basketball game. Vooch has a hard job right now because defense is all about trust. If you don't trust the guy doing his job, most of the time you're going to try to cover up more. You're going to do a little bit more than what you should, because obviously when you're in a drop, you want to drop with the roller. But he doesn't have confidence in Kobe to get back and be able to contest around. So because Trae has been, like you said, 10 to 12 in the mid-range. So as a basketball player, your natural instinct is, okay, we've been killed by this all game. I'm going to step up, So Lowry has to step over. As soon as he sees Capella getting ready to roll, you step up and you get right in front of him to allow Vooch to be able to drop back a little bit, and now you pass it off. Now you can get back to Danilo. And again, if he gets that pass off, it's a lot easier to recover. You recover, you get back. It's very frustrating because a lot of times defensively, it's not a team aspect. It's like guys are just like, oh, that's not my guy. And it's like you have to play as a unit, man, right? You see, when you get Vooch, you understand he's not flight of foot. He's nimble in a way, but he's not like laterally anything to worry about. So KYP, know your personnel. If you know he's not going to be able to get to Capella, you have to kind of cut that off and then get back to your guy. It's a team game, and that's frustrating. So you can continue to roll that. And this is where I say, Billy, I don't understand how he could sit over there and see this happen time and time again. Now, in this clip here, Trae comes off a screen from Danilo to the left side of the floor, right? This is on Kobe because you see Lowry is getting screened. You break off that coverage. Now, if Lowry gets through, you continue to follow Trae. But Lowry is in position to take Trae. You just stay with Danilo. Stay with Danilo. You don't need to. There's no way Lowry can get back there. It's Kobe's job to stay with Danilo and trust that Lowry will be able to get a hand up and force him off the 3-point line.
Yep. Yeah.
This is stuff that cringing over on the sideline, because you have to play the game the right way. You just simply have to play the game the right way. If you get beat playing the game the right way, it's a lot easier to swallow. If Kobe goes over there and he stays with Danilo shoots over the top, as a coach, that sucks. But we had the right assignment. We were doing the right thing.
You mentioned a couple of things I want to talk about. Number one, it's crunch time. You have your two worst pick and roll defenders in Kobe and Lowry. Nothing against them, but they are the two worst pick and roll defenders that we have on this team. It's exactly what Nate McMillan knows. And so he's like, okay, I'm going to run pick and roll with Danilo Gallinari and Trae Young. So it's crunch time with Billy, your two worst pick and roll defenders, in the action against Trae Young, who is one of the best passers and best mid-range players in the league, who's also extremely good at drawing fouls. And Kobe is very bad. His foul drawing, I can't remember what it was. Oh, his foul percentage as a guard is 29th percentiles, which means 71% of guards are better at not fouling than he is. So it's crunch time. You put your two worst defenders in pick and roll against Trae Young, who's one of the best pick and roll ball handlers in the league, who's very good at drawing fouls, against a guy who's very bad at picking up fouls. And then you're running drop coverage against him, which drop coverage is what you're opening up in drop coverage is the mid-range. That's what you want them to shoot. And Trae Young shot 10 of 12 from that point. So now the clip you showed, Vooch came up on that. He was actually running aggressive drop there. He came up almost to the level of the screen to try and hedge a little bit because he probably doesn't trust Kobe.
Exactly.
But you saw Lowry, as you mentioned. Lowry was supposed to take a step to the left, wall off Capella's line to the rim because Vooch is so high up in the coverage. Because you could wall off and then recover to Gallinari before he takes that shot.
Right.
And if he takes a shot and you recover, fine. But you'd rather have a contested three than an open lob dunk, which is what Gallinari got. And it makes Vooch look bad. Vooch is in the same position that Wendell was. It makes it look bad. He's doing his job, but it's team defense. You got to play that. And so, yeah, I think it's on Billy for sure. It's on Billy for sure because he should have had TBJ in there. Yes. TBJ is a much better defender. He fouls at much less rate. You could have Tice in Lowry's position. You could have Tice there because Tice would have walled him off. He would have contested. Anyways, so just it's unfortunate all around because I think that was a very, very winnable game that we got out coached in and didn't put ourselves in a position to succeed.
And what you like as a fan when you're watching the game, it's a chess match between both the coaches, especially when you get to the fourth quarter. And you saw exactly what Nate was thinking. Nate McMillan for the Hawks. He said, "You know what? He's going to leave those three out there all together in crunch time. Okay, Bogey,
put him in the spin cycle.
Right, Bogey go sit in that corner, and Harder go over there. They're not leaving you. You sit right there. We're going to play 3-on-3 basketball." And we're going to beat them every single time.
Every time.
That's the frustrating part because Billy's sitting over there. He's been coaching for many years. He has to know that was Nate being like, Billy, you going to do something? I'm going to keep doing this. You going to do something? Okay. We'll win the game this way then. If you don't want to, if you want to keep Lowry and Kobe and Vooch, Vooch is okay if he's the anchor and he's got guys around him, Right. But when you put him with those two, that's not good. It's not good at all. And I don't know if Billy just got lost in his rotations and he just, forgot about guys on the bench. But it's so frustrating.
Well, you've seen him prioritize many times this year. You've seen him prioritize offensive flexibility, offensive lineups, at the expense of defense. You've seen him do it all year. I mean, how many times does he put Denzel in there?
Yeah.
Or Kobe or Lowry in spots where they really shouldn't be, because he says, well, I wanted to get this look offensively. I wanted more shooting. He put Luke Cornett, in there. So it's just like Darnell said last week. You guys should go listen to it if you haven't listened to it. Darnell is great interview. But he said, as the talent around this team gets better, the focus is going to be more and more on Billy, because this is a team that is very similar to the Hawks in talent level. At least I thought with John Collins out,
yeah.
I thought this was a pretty even match, and that's when the coaching really starts to matter, because if the talent is on par, then you look at the coaching. Is the coaching on par?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And I think a couple of I know my guy Salim brought it up. He's got a podcast called Bulls Gold with Edward Schuler and all those guys. If you like Bulls stuff, they're good dudes. Okay, but they exactly. And we kind of talked, and he was like, he thought it was a red flag. And to be honest, I agree with him, because when you have an evenly matched team, like you just said, now it's about the coaching. Which one's going to play better chess? Who's going to be able, to put their team in the better position to win? And that was, obviously it's one game, but again, we've seen it. But if we could go to the next clip here, I just wanted to not okay, so we got TBJ in here now. We got a better lineup. We got Tice. We got TBJ. I believe we got Sat. Keep rolling. I'm going to make sure I get these lineups right. So we got Kobe out there, and Lowry and Vooch. Oh, I'm sorry. And Zach. Sorry.
Yeah.
We got Horter bringing the ball up here. He goes to the right side of the floor. Kobe's guarding him. He swings it to Danilo, right? So here's the thing. Lowry, these are when we talk about instincts. I believe Mark said it in the chat. These are things that instincts have to take over, right? As soon as he sees Kobe starting to get back in front of Horter, he has to tail it back to Danilo. Yep, he waits too long. He waits too long, and it's a wide open jumper, right? These are things that he has to see that. He has to be able to see man and ball and read when his teammate is back and get back to his man. These are things that you have to do. This next clip here.
Larro's had it tonight, man. Had it.
Zach LaVine. And Zach gave us 50. He gave us 50. If he doesn't give us 50, who knows how much we lose by? Okay, so I'm not doing this to bash Zach, but this is more so Billy, right? Because think about it, as a coach, if you got a guy that's carrying you offensively, why are you going to have him guard their best player? Why are you going to have him expend more energy guarding their best player when you know he's one of the only people on offense that has it going? Put him on somebody else that's not going to do much. Maybe have him sit in the corner. Have him guard somebody else. But on top of that, he's a bad point of attack defender. He's gotten better, but he's not someone you want to consistently guard Trae Young. And again, this is why I say Billy is frustrating, because as a coach, you have to also you have to keep it real. Like, yeah, you love the fact Zach probably came to the huddle and was like, hey, man, let me guard, right? You love that as a coach. But then you got to pick and choose your battles. Zach, you know what, brother? I love that you're saying that, but come on now. We need you on offense. Go guard Bogey in the corner. Go guard somebody else in the corner. We'll put somebody else on Trae, because we're going to need you to keep that energy for offense, right? And most people don't want to hear that, but that's real. That's what happens in basketball games. You know that you need that guy's offensive production. You don't go and allow him to play defense on a guy that's going to make him use more energy. Like, that just doesn't make sense at all.
Yep. Well, and Zach said in the post game that he was gassed.
Yes.
I mean, I know people think taking a lot of shots is just all fun and games, but taking a lot of shots takes a lot of energy out of you. And especially Zach is someone who he jumps like he uses his athleticism in his shots. So his shots are not just chilling shots. He's a very athletic shooter, if that makes sense. Yep. So he expends a lot of energy on his shots. And so you put up 50 points, I don't care how you're doing it, you're going to be gassed.
Yes.
And you should not be guarding the best player in crunch time in that situation, in my opinion.
Not at all. It's not like he's Kawhi. Even you see it even with the Clippers. Kawhi may be not guarding the best player. They may do it in moments, when timely, okay, we're up 2, we need to stop. Kawhi, go get him. That's when you do it. You don't have, like people always say, oh, I want to see, Kawhi guard LeBron. It's like that would be fun, but you don't want Kawhi to expend so much energy playing defense. You need him, you need his offensive production. So it's like, I know there are a lot of guys that say, I love it when my best player wants to guard the next best player, but it's chess, fellas. Like it's chess. Yeah. Like you gotta understand that Trey is on fire right now, and he's getting into this lane. He's gonna force Zach to use so much more energy, right? So you could roll this next clip here. So we got Lou Will for them. He's gonna set up a screen here. He's gonna come off, right? And Capella rolls. Capella was setting the screen for Lou. Now in this clip, this is on Zach again, right? So Zach is not seeing man and ball. Zach needs to, how should I say this? He needs to be able to see man and ball, right? So if you go move the clip back, right? So Zach is actually on the opposite side of the roller here. So he sees that he's rolling, all right? He needs to step in front of Capella because Vooch is up higher. You have to go off of your team. You have to read what's going on. You have to know what the coverage is. He should be in front of Capella forcing another read. That should not be that easy, right? And then on top of that, he doesn't even stay with his man. He takes Pat's man when it was just an interchange. They just interchanged and Zach lost his guy. And let's say he did force him to make another read. That guy's wide open because
Snell's in the corner,
wide open. And Tony Snelly Cat's in the corner, wide open. So it's, again, like I said, don't want to bash Zach because he's doing a bunch of good stuff on offense. But this is stuff that he's athletic. I guarantee you, if he gets in there and he throws a lob up, Zach will be able to contest it. He may be able to catch it, But we need guys to be on the backside. We're going to play drop coverage. We need everybody to be aware. If you're on the opposite side of that pick and roll, you're the tag man. You have to be trusted on that back end. Okay, that helps with the roll man. If a guy's coming off as the ball handler and point of attack defender is trailing, that tag man has to step in front of that roller. You have to force another read. Otherwise, it's going to be a simple. Man, frustration is just pouring out of me right now.
Yeah, you're right though. I mean, he's a tagger. He's got to step in front. But you're right. I think you mentioned it as well. Instincts on this. Some people have those instincts already. Mm-hmm. Some people don't. And if you don't have those instincts, you have to commit it to muscle memory by repeating it over and over and over and over again. And so you got guys that can improve their defense even if they don't have those instincts, but it takes a long time. And they have to really make it a focus of theirs. So this team is going to continue to struggle on defense. I'm just going to say it. Like they're going to be middling at best with the current personnel that they have playing the current minutes they are playing. I think they can get better in the offseason. This is not a finished product, but right now we're going to see a lot of these things. And so I think that makes it all the more important for Billy to put the right people on the court that do have those instincts, even if it comes at the cost of some of your offensive flexibility, because the way we're losing games is twofold. Number one, self-inflicted wounds on offense by turning the ball over or making silly plays or not running the offense we're supposed to in crunch time. We've seen that countless times this year. But more importantly, we're not stopping anybody. Right. It just sounds simple, but it's it's because we're not putting the people that have that level of instincts or that level of muscle memory on those defensive rotations. We're not putting those people in positions to succeed. And I think I think we've got the personnel to hold our own on that end, right? Garrett Temple, Troy Brown Jr., Patrick Williams, with people around him, he's got great instincts. He does not have the muscle memory yet. He's not really practiced, but Daniel Tice does. Thaddeus Young does, and Vooch and Zach have been around long enough that they have improved significantly. And if you put other good defenders around them, they can hold that up. But there's a comedy of errors and a series of a series of unfortunate events here that led to the coaching not really putting them in that position to succeed. And you saw the results of the Hawks game. We've seen it all year, but it's frustrating to see it still happening the same way, even with new personnel. He's still putting people in the wrong positions. Now, obviously, we haven't focused on Billy as much earlier in the year. Number one, because we didn't have a show earlier in the year. But more importantly, Billy was not I don't think Billy was the issue, because this team was so far from being where they are or where we want them to be that we felt like Billy Donovan was the coach to get them from A to B. But now they're trying to get to C, and we don't know if Billy Donovan is a B to C coach. We don't know if he can get him there. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Billy going forward. He's got a long contract, and I think he brings a lot of great things to the table. He's clearly very good at communicating with his players, but the schemes have been lacking at times in crucial moments this year.
Yes.
And there's no doubt about it.
My last thing I'll say on it, and I won't go long-winded here, but two things. AK went out and got guys like Tice and TBJ. TBJ more so because of his potential and he's young. But one of his things that he's good at is defense, right? He went out and got Tice because he's an upgrade as a backup, as a defender, and he's just a really good all-around basketball player, in my opinion. But if I'm AK, I'm not really happy that I went out and got Tice and I got TBJ and I got these guys to kind of help with the team defense. You gotta insert guys. You gotta insert guys that can help the team succeed. And the last thing I'll say is, if you look at all these teams, right, all the good coaches, teams, they are a mirror of the coach. They mirror what the coach is. What that coach prioritizes, what type of personality he has. That's what that team ultimately turns into. And to me, so far, Billy has been inconsistent in terms of his rhythm with his rotations and his lineups. And that's what you're starting to see. What you've been seeing is inconsistency with this team. And I think that's what we're starting to see. We're seeing inconsistent rotations, inconsistent the starting lineup, and experimenting, all this good stuff. And we're actually we're seeing it with the team. They're inconsistent. So, we just got to hope that things get a little bit better. Obviously, we're not expecting to go to the playoffs or anything like that, but not the playoffs, championship. Like, we're not expecting to go to the championship right now. So that's not trying to get too overly critical, but it's something to keep in mind. So
thanks for the shout out, Vinny. Appreciate you saying that.
Thanks,
yeah.
brother.
Something to keep an eye on. We'll continue to keep an eye on it over the coming weeks as we finish out the season. We've got a few games this week. I think it was the Orlando Magic coming up, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Minnesota Timberwolves all this week. So some winnable games if we put ourselves in position to succeed, which I hope we will. So I think we've ranted enough for tonight.
Don't forget about the Wendell revenge game.
Oh yeah, Wendell revenge game. That'd be funny. I do hope that was helpful though for you guys. Sorry, as a motorcycle goes past my house, but I hope those breakdowns were helpful for you guys on Kobe and Lowry. We've seen a lot of good things from them this year. We've seen some things that they can improve on, but at least in Kobe's case, I think he's going to be here for another couple of years. And there's still a lot of talent. I don't think people should be as down on him as they are. He's doing okay. He's doing okay. He's coming along, and Lowry is still that promising, but just not quite there. But he's getting closer to that potential. So I hope he reaches it, whether it's with us or not. I wish him the best because he seems like a really great guy and easy to root for. But he can be frustrating at times, and we showed you why tonight. So thank you guys again for all your comments. We appreciate you guys participating with us and shouting us out. And we'll have some more guests on next week. We've got a really fun one next week. We're looking forward to. So,
Yes, sir.
All right, I have one more question for you.
What's up?
Crunchy or smooth peanut butter?
That's easy for me, man. It's smooth, man. It's creamy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I know we're getting a lot of hate for that, but I'm with you. I'm with you 100%.
Hey,
here's
man.
Why.
What's up?
Crunchy peanut butter is just unfinished peanut butter. It's peanut butter that has not done its entire job. Because why are there still peanuts in my peanut butter? You gotta make it into the butter, man.
Exactly.
The whole thing. That's all.
I love that. That is a great explanation.
It's just unfinished peanut butter. It's peanut butter. Why am I paying for unfinished peanut butter? That's all I'm saying. All right, we'll leave you with that thought in your mind. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening to Bulls 101. Talk to you guys later.
Thanks, guys.